Hey, Dana.
And the former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, joins us now. Thank you so much for being here with us on this Wednesday. Here's a headline from The Hill. No repeat of Biden. A medical panel must oversee president's annual physicals. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think you've got a doctor that lays out the information. And the one thing I see of this President Trump, he's pretty open about his health care. But my concern, especially on that last report, is I would go deeper. Because I believe these Democratic leaders knew of this, because I spoke out and I was attacked. They were in the same meetings that I was in, that you watched President Biden not being there. And they not only were silent, they told the public something totally different. And then when you look even further, especially with this new book, like a Joe Scarborough, he openly would attack me and try to disname my ability to say what happened inside these meetings and say, President Biden was stronger and smarter than he's ever been. Was this a work of people together trying to mislead the American public? I think we've got to look much deeper and much further. And then with that information, what do we need to come out with our presidents? I'd like to know what the health is of every president.
Okay, I mean, you've been on the Hill. You know how this works. I wonder what information you get from it in the end. I wonder what it leads to in the end. I'm not quite sure what that answer is, depending on whether or not you get these interviews or whether or not they take a pass. On the flip side, let's talk about today. All right, here we go. Political playbook saying Trump's media availability since Inauguration Day. This is astounding, okay? I mean, I don't think any president's ever done it this way. 111 out of 138 days gives him an 80% hit rate. That's pretty big accessibility.
I think that's probably the biggest around the world. But it's not just, you're saying out of 111 days out of 138, but there's times of those 111 days that he's open for question for hours and taking whatever anybody asks him. And it'd be earlier in the morning, later in the afternoon, then later in the day. This is probably the most transparent presidency we have ever seen. Plus, it's also he's transforming, but he's letting the American public and the world know at the exact same time.
Here's another thing which I've been wanting to ask you about. So the Democrats are throwing $20 million at an effort to basically reshape their messaging because they want to figure out how to talk to men. And here's a little sampling of Democrats using some left-wing buzzwords.
Power, greed, and corruption is taking over this country like never before. Oligarchy.
Thanks to Donald Trump, we now know what oligarchy is about.
We have a path forward, but we need generational change. Look.
Building coalitions and building community.
Our movement for justice and peace and equity.
And it's not working. Here's from the Washington Post. Democrat troubles revive debate over the buzzwords from intersectionality to equity. Many say jargon is alienating key voters, but progressives say inclusive language is vital. How are they going to work this out?
The way they're going to work this out, and I don't want to give the Democrats, tell them how to solve their problem, but they really need is let new people run. I mean, you're dealing with a Schumer, Hakeem, a Nancy Pelosi. I would grab new people. Don't let Washington pick them. Go out in the community and let those actually run. The one thing the Democratic Party has done as well is they don't allow Democrats to run. They want to pick before they even have a primary. They push people out. Have an open primary, let open ideas happen, and the Democratic Party of a whole will decide. And at the end of the day, it will be a much different candidate. If I was a Democrat candidate running for office, I'd run against Democrats today and against their leadership, and I think you'd be very successful.
All right, we'll see how that goes. Kevin, nice to see you, sir. Back in Washington, D.C. You enjoy that tour there in the nation's capital.
And the rain, it sounded like where Jackie was
Thanks.
sitting.